I'm 83 years old, and I used to believe I was doing everything right. I believed that for most of my life. Now, sitting alone in this quiet house, I understand how long I was wrong and how quietly it happened. It took me 61 years to learn that lesson. I don't say that with anger. I say it with a tired honesty that only comes when there's no point in pretending anymore. At this age, you stop performing your life for others. You start telling it the way it felt, not the way it looked. Most days begin the same now. I wake up before the sun, not because I want to, but because sleep doesn't hold me the way it used to. I sit on the edge of the bed for a while, letting my joints remember how to move. The room is still, too still. I listen for sounds that aren't coming anymore. When you're young, you think silence means peace. When you're old, you learn it can also mean absence. I spent much of my life being needed. That was my identity. I was the one who kept things together. I remembered birthdays, packed lunches, washed clothes, made appointments, smoothed over arguments, stayed calm when everyone else fell apart. People relied on me, and I took pride in that. It felt like love. It felt like purpose. What I didn't realize was how often I was disappearing inside that role. In my 20s, I married a man who worked hard and came home tired. That seemed normal. That's what marriages looked like around me. I adjusted myself to fit around his schedule, his stress, his ambitions. I didn't resent it. I thought that was what commitment meant. I told myself there would be time for me later. Children came quickly. I became a mother before I really understood who I was as a woman. I was good at it, at least on the outside. I kept things running. I showed up. I rarely complained. When I was overwhelmed, I swallowed it. That's what women did then. You didn't name your exhaustion, you just carried it. Days blurred into routines, school mornings, grocery lists, laundry folded late at night when everyone else was asleep. I learned how to function on very little rest and even less attention. I stopped asking myself how I felt because there was always someone else who needed something more urgently. People praised me for being strong. Strength can become a quiet trap. I don't remember deciding to put myself last. I think it happened slowly, in 1,000 small choices. I'll rest later. I'll speak up another time. This isn't the right moment. Someone else matters more right now. Years passed like that. My husband and I talked mostly about logistics, bills, schedules, problems to solve. When was the last time we talked about fears or dreams or disappointments? I honestly can't tell you. It slipped away without an argument, without a dramatic break. We simply stopped seeing each other clearly. I noticed it sometimes late at night, lying beside him, staring at the ceiling. I would think we should talk more, we should do something together, and then morning would come and the day would take over and the feeling would fade. I assumed there would be another chance. My children grew. I knew every detail of their lives when they were small. As they got older, I knew less. I didn't notice how much they were learning to live without me emotionally, even though I was always physically there. I listened, but I was distracted. I answered, but I was tired. I thought love was proven by sacrifice. I didn't realize presence was just as important. In my 40s, I felt a restlessness I couldn't name. I had moments when I wondered who I would have been if I had chosen differently. I felt guilty for even thinking that way. I had a family, a home, stability. What right did I have to want more? So I pushed the feeling down and stayed busy. Busy is very effective at hiding truth. The cost didn't arrive all at once. It arrived in small losses. a friendship that faded because I never had time to call back, a hobby I stopped because it felt indulgent, a version of myself I stopped recognizing in the mirror. Then came the illness. Not mine at first, my husband's. It wasn't sudden. It crept in slowly. Appointments added to the calendar, medications lined up on the counter. I went into caretaker mode without thinking. That's what I knew how to do. But something changed in me during those months. Sitting in waiting rooms, watching him sleep in hospital beds, I realized how little of our inner lives we had shared in years. We had taken care of everything except each other. He died when I was 78. Afterward, people filled the house for a while. Food arrived. Cards came in the mail. Everyone told me how strong I was. I nodded and thanked them because that's what you do. Then they went home, and I was left with the quiet. Grief doesn't always come as tears. Sometimes it comes as inventory. I started remembering conversations we never had, words I never said because they felt inconvenient or risky. I realized how often I chose peace over honesty, harmony over truth. There were things I accepted that slowly hollowed me out. I told myself it was maturity. I see now it was avoidance. My children tried to be there for me in their way. They have their own lives, their own families, their own pressures. I don't resent that. I understand it better than they know. I built my life around others too, but there is a particular loneliness that comes from realizing you taught people how to live without your emotional presence by modeling it yourself. That is a hard thing to sit with. At this age, you think about what can no longer be changed. You stop negotiating with the past. You accept that certain versions of your life will never exist. You mourn them quietly. I can't go back and ask for more. I can't reclaim the parts of myself I set aside for too long. I can't undo the moments I stayed silent when my voice mattered. That's the truth that took me 61 years to understand. That waiting costs more than doing things imperfectly. If you're listening to this, I'm not here to tell you how to live. I know how exhausting that is. I just want to say this gently, woman to woman, human to human. You are allowed to take up space while you are still needed by others. You are allowed to have needs that don't fit neatly into everyone else's expectations. You are allowed to speak before resentment replaces your voice. I wish I had known that earlier. I wish I had trusted that being present with myself would not have meant abandoning the people I love. It might have meant showing them a fuller version of me. Now, my days are simpler, slower. I drink my tea and watch the light change. I think about the years behind me more than the ones ahead. There is gratitude in that reflection, but also sorrow. Both can exist together. If this story stays with you for a moment, that's enough. I don't need anything from it. I just didn't want this lesson to end in silence. I'm 83 years old. It took me 61 years to learn this, and I don't have the time left to keep it to myself.